Donald Trump's pick to lead the Department of Defense, an unvetted, unqualified, unfit Fox and Friends weekend anchor, Pete Hegseth. His candidacy is rapidly circling the drain, as now his own mother, willingly or not, has come forward against him because there's an email from 2017 in which she said that he, Hegseth, is an abuser of women. And that's one of the nicest things that she said about him in this email, commenting on his infidelity, on his frequent abuse of women, and the like. The email is after there were reports that Hegseth entered into a non-disclosure agreement with a woman who claims that he raped her in 2017. All this coming out of reporting from the New York Times. This is reporting that only Oedipus would like, if you know what I mean. I'm Michael Popak. You're on MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. Let's keep training our fire on Pete Hegseth to try to kill that candidacy, that nomination for the Pentagon. Do I have to remind you, I'm not talking about communications director or something like a rubber room that wouldn't hurt our national security. This guy's being nominated to run the $3 billion world's greatest fighting force, Pentagon. Okay? It's so incredulous and so ludicrous that even Rudy Giuliani, who's MAGA goo goo, said during his own podcast when the announcement first came up, he said, that he'd be very good for communications director. And somebody on his show had to tell him, no, Department of Defense, Pentagon chief. So now the mother comes forward. Now here's how it happened. Apparently she wrote an email in 2018. Looks like she shared it with some people. And the New York Times got a hold of it. And I'm sorry that we're not getting the vetting that we're supposed to get as a American citizenry from an FBI background check, because Donald Trump and his transition team have completely blocked any FBI investigation into the background checks of people that he's nominated. They won't allow it. They won't sign the agreements to permit it, leaving us vulnerable as a nation. The FBI is supposed to look at whether the person is ethically compromised, financially compromised, a national security risk, has a criminal record, or stories like this that go to character and fitness. But Donald Trump won't allow it. So I'm sorry that the media has to do the job that the Trump administration or the incoming Trump administration is not allowing the FBI to do. And this is how these things happen. So now so let's not fault the New York Times for doing their job and their First Amendment freedom of press investigative reporting. So here's what we have so far in the email. It's a 2018 email. I think that's a very important. I want you to fix that on the calendar in your head while I do this hot take. 2017, Pete Hegseth has an interaction with a woman in California, and she claims she was raped. There's no other way around it. I can't sugarcoat this. This is her claim, her allegation. I have no reason to disbelieve her. Look what Pete Hegseth did next. He entered into a non-disclosure agreement and paid her a sum of money to go away. That's 2017. Remember this email with her mom calling Hegseth an abuser of women and worse, which I'll read to you in a minute. It's 2018. Let me give you the marriage history here a little bit for Hegseth, all right? So bad that even Megyn Kelly, a Fox MAGA who worked with him, said, I'm not going to defend his marriage history. He looks like he has a fidelity issue. It's not somebody that I would marry, while she was defending him on the sex abuse charges. But so he's married. His first wife, Meredith, he marries, and he's got for 5 years, 2004 to 2009, no children result. Second marriage is with Samantha, right? And he has 3 kids. Then in 2017, same year that the woman claims to have been raped by him, a different woman, he has an affair in the marriage of number 2, Samantha, with a Fox producer, and that produces a baby. So now he's got an out-of-wedlock baby in 2017. While he's married to Samantha, same year that there's a rape allegation against him, right? He eventually divorces Samantha, or she divorces him, leaving 3 kids in a broken marriage, a broken home. and marries the Fox producer. In and around that time, we get the email. The email is written by the mother. All right, so I wanted to give you that context so you understood where this was coming from. It wasn't just out of the blue. Mommy was mad at her son, at her baby boy. Here's what she wrote in 2018. You are an abuser of women. This is the mother in making her observations about her son, who's been nominated to be the head of the Pentagon. That is the ugly truth. And I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego. Penelope Hegseth, the mother, wrote. She didn't think this would be published in the New York Times. This was a private communication, so I assume she was very candid. I mean, this is not a typo. I know she wants to come out now and say, oh, I misspoke. He was not an abuser of women. All right. He is a blank. We're not playing match game here. It's not a typo. It's a long written missive against her son. You're an abuser of women. Okay, you are that man and have been for years, the mother writes. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is the sad, sad truth. She advised her son to get some help and take an honest look at yourself. Now, when she was approached by the New York Times, she said it was she was horrified that it was published, and she thought that was the problem. She focused on that. Why was that published? She said it was written in anger and with emotion, but now she can vouch for her son. He's a very good boy. It's not true. He's a good father, left out the wife abuse, women abuse, misogyny part of it. And it was taken out of context. So here's my favorite line from Stephen Chung, the incoming communications director for Donald Trump. It's a snippet of an email taken out of context. Okay, I've got time. And you guys can write it here in the chat or in the comments. What context would make that statement work in favor of Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump? I'm waiting. I'll wait for a minute. It's taken out of context? He's an abuser of women? Now, let me give you the full, Hegseth in full here, okay? Christian right-wing nationalist. Yes. I mean, what I'm telling you now is things that he says publicly, okay? Covered with tattoos that are devoted to Christian right-wing nationalism and restoring and instilling a new crusade, the Crusades in America. Christian-based, overcoming people, overcoming the infidels, overcoming people who aren't Christian, right? He's got the tattoos to match, right? Okay. In addition to that, they believe certain things, and he follows certain tenets of Christian right-wing nationalism. One, men are in charge, male hegemony, period. All leadership positions occupied by men. This is his belief system. You need to know this as you train your fire on his candidacy to make sure he doesn't get nominated, doesn't get confirmed. That's one. Consistent with that, he has said out loud that he does not believe, speaking of stolen valor, that women should be in combat positions in the U.S. military. He can then tell that when he's being interrogated in the confirmation hearing, if he makes it that far. And I'm having my doubts. If he makes it that far, he can tell that to Lieutenant Colonel Tammy Duckworth, senator from Hawaii, who lost 2 legs and part of an arm in a helicopter crash. He can tell her that about her not being involved with combat, and he would rather women stay at home, apparently barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen, whether he marries them or not. We've talked previously about how much of your personal data is out there on the internet for anyone to see. Your name, contact info, social security number, and home address. Even information about your family members. All being compiled by data brokers and sold online. As a person who exists publicly, especially as someone who shares my opinions online, I am hyper aware of safety and security. And privacy matters more than ever. It's easier than ever to find personal information about people online. All this data hanging out there on the internet can have actual consequences in the real world. That's why I decided to give a Delete Me subscription to my wife. Now look, my wife is the handyman in the family and does so many things beautifully, but tech is not one of them. And I worry about her online presence, especially given my work in the media. Giving her a Delete Me subscription made her happy and let me relax. It was the perfect gift. And once I gave it to her, she started using it, and then she realized how insecure she was before and how protected and proactive attractive she felt now. It empowered her. That's why I personally recommend Delete Me. Delete Me is a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. Sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. Delete Me isn't just a one-time service. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. To put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping your and your family's personal information from data broker websites. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for our listeners and their loved ones. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/legalaf and use promo code legalaf at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/legalaf and enter code legalaf at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/legalaf, code legalaf. So no women in combat positions, taking away 40 years of valor, stealing their valor, of them making the most, the highest sacrifice that they can make to their country, serving in combat in the military. Okay? That's that. He's going to, of course, he's against abortion. So he's going to make sure that no women in the military are able to get abortion services. If their bases are in red states, he will not pay for them to go to blue states to get reproductive health care. Not going to do that. So do we see the problem here? And it's consistent with a guy, right? You can't compartmentalize this the way Megyn Kelly wants to do. Well, I wouldn't marry him, but like having him be the head of the Pentagon, or, that seems okay. Really? I'm not about compartmentalization. We saw how that's not worked in politics. This is his character. This is his fitness. His character is terribly flawed. I agree with the mother. He is a sex abuser. His history says he is. Now he hires a pit bull lawyer like Tim Parlatore, who used to represent Donald Trump in the Mar-a-Lago matters. Sorry, got tongue-tied there for a minute. To go after people that are going after him, like the victims of rape, threatening her that if she tries to testify before the Senate confirmation hearing, they'll go after her for violating the non-disclosure agreement. Okay, well, I think she's going to win that rock, paper, scissors, don't you, America? If she wants to, that person should be testifying against Hegseth. Drag the mother in for all I care. I don't care. Subpoena the mother. Bring her in about her email. She acts like she was, she's violated. She's violated. What about, look at the marriage history. And this is a reflection of, you got to think to yourself, are these the best and the brightest that Donald Trump can come up with? Or is it just a massive troll against the American people and a middle finger against his own voters? I mean, every one of them has, I'll give you 4 candidates that have a sex assault, sex harassment, predator-like behavior or conduct in their past, including self-confessed. RFK Jr., right? According to a nanny, he raped her. He had sex with her against her will. A nanny. That's RFK Jr., besides him being a self-professed former heroin addict. Okay, that's 1. 2, Gates, now gone after 8 days, but he's got a sexual predator, sex trafficking, pedophile set of charges that are being brought up in the House, in the Ethics Committee. That's 2, right? Hegseth, 3, a rape allegation. His mother saying he's an abuser of women. 4, Linda McMahon, who's going to be the head of the nation's children's education, who ran the World Wrestling Federation and World Wrestling. Think about what that's done to the morals of America. And she's being sued because this is the allegations of the lawsuit, she and her husband, Vince McMahon, allowed a pedophile to be a senior executive to groom and rape under children, boys. That's Linda McMahon. And she's in education, public education, if she gets that job. I mean, I haven't gotten to Pam Bondi yet, but I'm sure we'll find something. Is this the best that you can do, Donald Trump? This is how Donald Trump has interpreted the election. I won. He believes everything he says. I won an overwhelming mandate. Historic crushing of the Democrats. I'm going to do everything I wanted to ever do, and I can get everybody I want approved. Well, American people are starting to figure out that maybe voting for the price of eggs and gas and the economy, maybe that wasn't the way to go. They're all scratching their heads with buyer's remorse. That's what I voted for? That's the regulation he wants to do against me? Yes. We just have to hope he overplays his hand. He's already started. I'll shove all these people down their throat. I'll get anybody I want in their offices, whether they're qualified or not, and I'll make the Senate do it for me. I'll put them into immediate recess of the Senate, and I'll do Senate appointments. I'll do recess appointments of anybody that I want. Well, the canary in the coal mine for that, the test for that, the dress rehearsal was Matt Gaetz. How'd that go? Third fastest cabinet nominee to ever withdraw. So we, as a community, it's not just the hummingbird theory anymore. It's working. We got to train our sights, train our fire on these outlier, outlandish, obscenely unqualified and unfit picks, and make sure we call our senators and tell them to stand up to these people. And that Donald Trump owes it to the American people to pick quality people, the best and the brightest, right? Bring them in to lead this nation. Not the dregs of society. Donald Trump either picks people that are in the Heritage Foundation Project 2025 related, which he said he didn't know what it was, but now he's picking everybody from it, including its chief architect to be our head of the Office of Management and Budget, which is the checkbook, holds the checkbook for America and entitlements. Or he picks them from the Fox studios, right? Half of his health departments are headed by, or would be headed by, Fox TV doctors. The head of defense, Pete Hegseth. Fox and Friends weekend, not even the weekday edition. Not that it would matter. I've said, and only half jokingly, just to make the comparison, it would be like making Anderson Cooper, if Kamala Harris won, her announcing at the podium that Anderson Cooper would be the Department of Defense, the head of the Pentagon. They have similar backgrounds over the last 14 years. They both host the show. They both host the ball drop in Times Square for their respective networks. But we would never do that. See, the difference is the Democrats would never do that. You might quibble with policy, but we'd have these amazing credentialed people, like the Secretary of State we currently have, Secretary of State Tony Blinken. And all of the positions that we have, these are people that are qualified and fit to be in those positions. The people that Donald Trump is picking out of the clown car, the dumpster fire clown car thing, he should be ashamed of himself, but he has no shame. He has no guilt. That's just the way it is. We're going to continue to follow what happens with Hegseth. If I had to make a prediction, I'm going to make it right here. Hegseth's done. He's cooked. Nothing was taken out of context. This is completely consistent with his morals and his values as a Christian nationalist, and given his long history of sexual abuse and abuse within his own marriages that are public. Donald Trump, withdraw the nomination of Pete Hegseth as Department of Defense Secretary. Immediately, American people demand it. We demand it here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. I sit at the intersection of law and politics on a regular basis. I do, 15, 20 videos a week on the MeidasTouch Network. We have so much to talk about at that intersection. We formed a new channel in collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network. We call it Legal AF. I'm the chief curator. I put it all together. I got all the contributors over there with us. Go over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, hit the blue subscribe button, and you'll get 5 or 6 new reports every day at that intersection of law and politics. And of course, on our podcast, Legal AF. Good name for it. We decided to use it twice for Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on this YouTube channel. So until my next reporting on Legal AF matters, wherever they may be, I'm Michael Popak. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.